Well, I think what we've done in the last 2.5 years and what we aspired to do at the beginning of the administration are two different things, but we still have great aspirations for helping the nation reach the 2020 goal. So I'll start with kind of what the big picture was, and then I'll go into like what we were actually able to accomplish and what that leaves for us in the next several years. The first was the 2020 goal that we talked about, recognizing that the new kind of jobs of the future, the economy of the future is going to be different than the one that our parents lived in. I think about my dad, who's from Akron, Ohio, who when he went to college, everyone said, "You're ridiculous. You should get a great job in these tire companies because then you can like have a middle class life, you can buy a great new Cadillac, and everything will be okay." And if anyone has been to Akron lately, the tire companies have left, and if you don't have a higher education, it's very difficult to live a middle-class life in Akron or anywhere else. So we know that this is now the key to the American dream. It's the doorway in, and it's becoming increasingly important just to get a job. These types of jobs are growing, the ones that require some type of post-secondary education. I think a lot of times when people hear us say that, they think we mean everyone needs to go to Harvard. I think we know that Harvard's not opening up its enrollment that much to be able to make a dent in this problem. And it doesn't mean that everyone necessarily needs a four-year degree. I would argue that we don't have enough egalitarianism within the four-year system. But there are many two-year degrees and certificates that can give you the skills needed to have a great job. But we're not doing a good job in higher education across the board right now, and we know that the economy's changing. So facing a really bad recession at the time, we knew that we had a tall task, a bold goal, and saw something else that was happening, which was that families are less and less able to afford college or afford anything. Their incomes are not rising. Family incomes just weren't really rising, and we know from the increasing unemployment rate that people are just struggling more. So that meant that our demand for Pell Grants was going way up. So one thing that we said was we want to make sure that this program is stable for people that are looking to go to college, for poor families that need help in affording college. We want to make sure that we shore up the Pell Grant program, and we had a plan to do that, to kind of remove some inefficiencies in our student loan system to pay for Pell Grants and keep them stable for the next several years. Another thing that we said we wanted to do was to kind of inspire colleges and universities to do more around access and completion. We tried to infuse and work with partners to infuse this completion language in everything that we do, because we have been focused a lot on access, but with many open access universities and places where you can just basically click somewhere online and sign up, access is still a problem for many students, but we need to focus more laser-like on completion. So that means, what can colleges and universities be doing differently to help their students succeed? And it sounds kind of silly. I was having this conversation with someone. I was like, yeah, we've got to figure out how to help. Like, colleges think that this is their goal. And it's like, colleges don't think that it's their responsibility to help the students that they're taking money from succeed. And it's like, well, no, not everyone does. Which sounds really interesting. When Craig was talking about the marketplace and in any other industry, do you see kind of your customers helping them get to what they want to achieve? That doesn't always ring true in the higher education industry. So we said that we would like to have a several billion-dollar access and completion fund, and an American graduation initiative to help more students achieve college, help colleges try out some of the new techniques that might help them help their students, and infuse some maybe venture capital into the marketplace to help them try out some of the new ideas, like some of the things Western Governors is doing, or other areas where they can be more productive, which would mean, I know that's kind of a loaded term in higher ed, but productivity means more learning for less money. And so we set out the course of trying to do those things. We were able to shore up the Pell Grant program and make sure that students did not see a cut in their aid awards for very low income. I guess something that I left out was the work in the for-profit area and in gainful employment and program and integrity, which I think complements this, because at the we have a very diverse system of higher education, and in some areas where people are promising that you will get a job after coming to this institution, whether it be for-profit or nonprofit or community college or whatever, there are some programs, not necessarily institutions, but some programs where we as a federal government have basically authorized them to go out and prepare students for gainful employment. And they have marketed themselves not like as a liberal arts college where you will learn a lot of things about life and experiences and also gain a degree maybe in philosophy and go to law school and do whatever else, but you are going to have skills for a job when you leave here because of this program. And for many students, they were paying money to do this and were not getting the results. So in that area, not only did we need to I think all of this is shoring up the foundation of higher education, and the next phase is getting to the next level. But for those students, they weren't getting what they were promised to get. So we tried to set in place some minimum standards for this industry. A lot of it was focused on the for-profit side of this because some of the incentives were not really aligned to produce the outcomes that they were promising. So we tried to realign those incentives so that everyone would be working toward the same goal. I think that leaves for us kind of this next phase of infusing some type of venture capital into the higher education system to get them to think more about completion in a productivity-oriented way. We have a new proposal called First in the World that would help us get there. It's like a reinvigoration of FIPSE, if anybody remembers, that the Fund for Improvement of Post-Secondary Education in its best days really was that type of venture capital to get people, to get institutions and nonprofits actually to try new things in higher education. And we would like to reinfuse it with a new goal of focusing specifically on productivity and completion in higher education.